Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So first of all, a couple of things that you need to know. First of all, if you want to guarantee to get your question answered, make sure you put it in by the Monday or Tuesday. I typically film these on a Tuesday. This is the latest I've ever filmed the Q&A. I'm filming this on Friday morning. I've been working at a trade show in London for the last 3 days, and so this is the first time I've had to film it, but that's rare. Normally, it's at the beginning of the week. So make sure that you get the question in as soon as possible. If I miss your question, I'm very sorry. Ask it down below on this video, and I will get to it the following week. Also, I don't read these questions ahead of time, so it's not like I've formulated notes or done research. You're getting my raw and filtered opinion on the questions that are being asked. With that in mind, what am I trying to say? I've completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, with that in mind, if there's a question that I think maybe would take too long to answer, that would be better off in a longer video, I will let you know that as and when. That's all being said. One more thing is to thank every single person that watched any one of these videos. There's a couple of changes that are going to be happening to Magic TV moving forward. I'll let you know about those when they happen. It's all going to be positive changes, but I'm having to reevaluate my schedule a little bit, but don't worry, I'm still going to be here, but we're just changing things around a little bit, but that's not going to be for a few weeks. But other than that, I'm going to get into it. It's all very exciting. So let's start off with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Dragon's Law 2594, who says, question, are there any magic routines using Hanafuda? Actually, no, but there might be, or I don't know of any. It's interesting you asked this question because I only found out about Hanafuda a few weeks ago, and a friend of mine showed me a deck. I've got a couple of decks of cards, and my plan is over Christmas, just as a creative exercise to myself, to put together some routines with them. If you don't know what they are, they're kind of smaller Japanese playing cards. So I'm wanting to do, I've got in my head a future Hows and Whys on Hanafuda. I think that'd be a fun thing to do. So I don't know of any magic tricks with them. Maybe there are. I bet you there's a ton of them by magicians that come from Japan possibly, but I don't know of any. But I saw the cards and I fell in love with them, and I thought, yeah, there's something we've got to be able to do here. But do you know of any? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician. How you doing, Divishan? Hope you are well. The question is, do you do a thumb tie routine, and what are your favourite routines? Yes, I do a thumb tie. I do a thumb tie. I've got a couple of different versions that I use. The first version that I have used in the past that I don't currently use, but I did for ages, was a thumb tie routine by Shiego Taiyagi from The Amazing Miracles of Shiego Taiyagi, which is a book by Kaufman and Greenberg, written by Richard Kaufman, which you can still get. It's still in print, I believe, or it's just been recently reprinted. But that's an amazing routine. There's this beautiful moment in there where you're thumb tied and they throw a ring. They're holding a ring and they throw it to you, and you catch the ring, and it's really beautiful. I think a lot of people consider that to be kind of the quintessential thumb tie routine. That's a really good one. Another great one is Chain Breaker by Lysander. Now, Chain Breaker is awesome. It's a very different approach to a thumb tie routine. It's very different from a methodology point of view, but the idea is that you get electrical tape. So you have somebody get electrical tape and they wrap your thumbs together with electrical tape, and you're doing crazy stuff. If you've ever been to a convention and you've seen Lysander demo Chainbreaker, you'll know that it is insanely good. And it's called Chainbreaker because as well as that, you get like an endless chain, which you're using to pass through the electrical tape. So that's really, really good. And I do another thumb tie routine, which is kind of my own thing that I've done on stage for years, that was based on the Suit Jacket Escape. It's nothing to do with the Suit Jacket Escape, but it's the whole idea of finding a playing card. So I've got a big bag, and they're holding I've got two spectators up on stage with me, and they're holding a bag. And it's a big red bag. I'll tell you what it is. It's actually the bag from Red Carpet. It's the blindfold from Red Carpet by Jason Poulter. So if you know that, that's the bag. I use it as a bag. And I have somebody pick a card. But I have my thumbs thumb tied together first of all. So I have somebody pick, it's comedy routine. So I have someone pick a card. Obviously, it's very difficult for me to do that. I have the card picked, lost in the pack, and then I have them drop the cards down into the bag. And then the whole idea is I say, right, I'm going to put my hands into the bag. I want you to watch very carefully. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Remember, and I'm bringing my hand out as I'm gesturing and I'm putting my hand back in. And you say, remember, my thumbs are tied together. There's no way I can do this. So you understand. I'm going to put my hand in my bag, and I'm kind of doing that, and it gets very, very funny. And the whole idea is I'm trying to find their playing card with my thumb tied together, and eventually what happens is I do find the card, and then I've escaped from the thumb tie. So there's a lot of moments to it, but it's basically a thumb tie routine built into a revelation of a selected playing card with 2 spectators up on stage. Those are the 3 routines that I do. There is a great Jeff Hobson routine, which is just mental. Absolutely mental. If you go on Jeff's website, you'll see it on there. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really cool version. Jeff Hobson's version is great and very flamboyant. It's very Jeff. So those are the ones that I'm kind of aware of. Those are my favourite versions. I'm sure there's a million others, and I'm sure somebody will let you know in the comments down below, Diversham, but those are the ones that I would recommend. Okay, so the next question is from Radio Man J, who says, hi Craig. Hi, Radio Man. I've been in magic for less time than Matt, and after 2 small gigs, I recently unexpectedly found myself facing an audience of 140. My company sometimes organises activities for employees' kids. I suggested I could maybe do a magic show. I was expecting very few people to show up, but I was wrong. Well, I was a little nervous and not surprised, dude. But everything went really, really well. The kids were active and participating and laughing their ass off for the whole show. And when I finished, some of them kept on shouting more and more. I told the kids that anybody who wanted could come and see some close-up magic, and I went on for 20 minutes doing sponge balls and rubber bands after the show. All in all, a truly amazing experience, and I want to take my time to thank you for this, because most of the things I know about magic I learned from your channel and the Netrix. There's so much good advice there. Okay, I mostly wanted to thank you and to let you know your passion and dedication really made a difference to me, but I don't want to leave you without a question. So first of all, before we get to this question, thank you. Honestly, the reason I do this channel is because of hearing stories like that. Somebody who's taken a big leap, and honestly, balls of steel to go out and do that. Your first kid show ever, and you do it in front of 140 people and you kill it. Dude, that's amazing. That's why this channel exists. So here's the question. I taught some kids the jumping rubber band and they loved learning it. Do you have any other suggestions for alternative giveaway tricks that one can teach to interested kids? Okay, really great question. Yeah, the jumping rubber band is a perfect one. Another great one is this trick with a piece of string. And what it is in essence is if you take a piece of string, right, it looks like you have 2 pieces of string and you just pull it and it becomes 1 piece of string. And how it works is you take a piece of string and you fold it down so you can find the middle, and you prise the fibres apart in the middle, and then you twizzle them around like this, and when you hold it in that position, it looks like you're holding 2 pieces of string. So you say, look, I'm going to show you a trick with 2 pieces of string, watch very, very carefully, and you literally just let go and pull, and when you do, the fibres go back into the string, and it becomes one long piece. Great trick, absolutely amazing trick, perfect to teach kids, because they can just give them a piece of string and they can be setting it up and doing it over and over again. So that's a really good one. Also teaching them the basic cups and balls routine that you would get at any magic set, just using disposable cups and Post-it notes rolled up into pieces of paper, rolled up into little balls. That's a great trick to teach kids as well, because it's very easy to do, but looks really impressive. Another one, for older kids, in the past, I've taught a very basic multiple out, where I have an envelope, and inside the envelope is just a piece of paper folded up and 3 playing cards. And I've put a big cross on the back of one of the cards. I've wrote, you will pick the blah on the back of the envelope, and the piece of paper has the 3rd card written on it. So I bring out the envelope and I say, hey, I'm going to show you something with an envelope, or not with the envelope, with 3 cards. You can pick any one of these, and then I just show them the correct out, depending. That's a really simple trick that they can learn as well. Those are the ones that I kind of gravitate to. But you know, there's millions of tricks out there. I might do a video. If you want to see a video of like perfect tricks to teach kids, if they ask to teach it, I do workshops all the time. So it's something that I can definitely go through with you. If you'd like me to, just let me know. Okay, so the next question is from Magigea, who says, how do you decide who to submit your tricks to? You just submit everything to everyone and see who wants it, or when you create something, you already know it would be more suitable for Penguin or Alakazam or Murphy's and so on. What's the criteria? As usual, Thank you so much. It's a great question. It's a really great question. I normally have a company in mind, and I don't have any hard and fast rule, but in my head, I have in my head who I think this would be appropriate for. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing with like high-end coin sets, that's obviously an Alakazam thing because they've got the elite coin range. It kind of makes sense. But you know, it very much depends. So we've got the we've got the sequel to the Quantum deck coming out within the next 3 or 4 months, and that was obviously, absolutely obviously had to be that had to be, what am I talking about? That had to be Murphy's, obviously, because the original Quantum deck went through Murphy's. Anything to do with keys goes through Penguin, because obviously I bought Keymaster out through Penguin. So Gatekeeper and any other key-related projects, that goes out through Penguin. But really, it very much depends, to be perfectly honest. There's no hard or fast rule. But if I a lot of the time, because there's a long process before I even approach a company, I like to have the absolute finished product in mind when I approach a company. So I don't want to just go to the company and say, I've got an idea. Do you think this would work? I don't want to do that. I want to go to them and I want to say, right, okay, here's a video. This is what it is. This is what it does. This is how it works. Please let me know. And even, even me, and I bring, a decent amount of tricks out from time to time. I've had Penguin turn around, and so for example, I've got a trick coming out with Penguin next year that was originally slated for Murphy's, and it was perfectly understandable why they didn't. I totally get it. I can't really go into why, but Murphy's were like, no, and I can understand why completely. But Penguin were like, yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, let's do it. Likewise, I went to Penguin with a couple of things, and they said no, and I understand why. It absolutely makes sense. But one of those ended up with Murphy's, and the other one ended up with TCC. So you'll never get a yes immediately. That's the whole point of shopping these things round. But if you have an idea in your head, that's great. I would say with your first product, you want to kind of just go with everybody. Just send it out to everybody. Send it out to Illusionists. Send it out to Vanishing Ink. So, because not one trick, there's so many factors that decide whether someone's going to take a trick or not. It's not necessarily about quality. It's not necessarily about how good the trick is or isn't. It's not necessarily about who you are and what your profile in Magic is. There's a million things. So, for example, if you're showing them a trick, but they've got a trick coming out that you're not even aware of, because it's not out yet, that's similar to that, well, then they probably wouldn't want to do that. If they've got like a trick coming out that's similar, why would they want 2 tricks coming out that are basically the same trick, right? That's one reason why they might not want to do it. Excuse me. Another example is they might have, there might be a trick already within their range of products, that if you come to them with a trick, even though it's a different thing from a methodology point of view, it's the same effect. A spectator watching it, it's the same effect as something else. Well, they might go, well, no, because we've already got something that achieves the same thing, right? They're not going to want to harm sales of one product to try and get sales for another product. It's okay competing against other people. You don't want to compete against yourself, right? There's so many different things that you have to take into consideration when this sort of thing happens. For any new creators, I would say just go to everybody, because you're going to get knocked back by some companies, but other companies are going to vibe on that thing. Snaps by David Jonathan, perfect example, one of Penguin's best-selling tricks of all time. I know he got turned down by about 3 different companies before Penguin said yes. So that's a perfect example. But yeah, for me, I have a rough idea of where I want to go with it. When I create it, 90% of the time it will go to that company, but occasionally it'll move on to another. Okay, we have one more question by Magicea, who says, not a question. Oh, we don't have one more question. Not a question, but a request. I feel that when we buy a product with video tutorials, if possible, there should be a paper with a setup or procedure. Something like toys would be a nice example. If we forget the procedure, we go to the if we forget the procedure to go to the selected item, it would be nice to have a sheet of paper we could quickly go to without having to search the video. Don't take me wrong, I love your tutorials. I feel that a written summary is needed. I totally get where you're coming from, and here is why sometimes that's not a viable option. Okay, so from a business point of view, you want to try and make purely from a business point of view, when you're bringing out a product, you want the cost of that product to be as low as possible. Because let's make no bones about it, they're in business to make money. Any production company that release product, they're not doing it for the fun of it. They want to make money because they need to take that money and use it to release another product, and so on and so forth. So they're in the business of making money. How do you make money? Well, you increase turnover, you make sure that as many people as possible are buying it. But the other thing that you do is you reduce the expenses. Okay, you want to keep the expenses as low as possible, and including something like toys, for example, which is a glossy A4 piece of paper, like catalogy thing. Which has got written instructions on it, that's all well and good. But let's say you're Murphy's, they typically will buy something like 3,000 to 5,000 units in of a product, right? They'll if they're creating a thing themselves, it could be 3,000 units, 4,000 units, it's 5,000 units. It very much depends on the trick and the creator and so on and so forth. Well, if they're having to include that with each one of those products, well, that's going to massively increase the cost. You're probably thinking, well, it's probably a few pence to manufacture that little catalogue that you're wanting to include with it. But if you times that by 5,000, what's the cost of that then? And don't forget, that's the initial outlay. So they've got to pay for all of this before people start buying the product. Now, somebody like Murphy's can do that because they're cash rich, right? They have good cash flow. But if it's a new production company, or if it's a struggling production company, again, this is why so many production companies are shutting down at the moment. They're literally working on a gig by gig basis because they're using the profit from the one gig by gig basis, a product by product basis, because they're using the product from one they're using the profit from one product to finance the next product, right? So when you say to them, well, you can include this thing, you don't need to, it's a nice extra, but it's going to cost you thousands more before you get any money back from selling it to the end user. Well, that's when you kind of think, well, I don't know if that's needed. I don't know and that's even without the extra manpower, because now you're going to have to include that in the product. Now, a lot of the products, not all the time, it depends on where you get it from, but a lot of the products, so Murphy's, for example, and Penguin, and Alakazam, they have the packaging bought in. Let's use Alakazam as a perfect example. They're going to bring out a trick, right? So they've got all the different components for the trick. Now, they've got to have this extra thing that they're including, which is probably going to change the packaging. Then they're going to have the packaging in. Now it's going to take extra time to put all of that together because they've got to include this thing as well. So it's nice in theory, but in reality, it can be the difference between a success, because you can't charge more if a trick is going out at $30, right? If a trick's going out at $30, you can't charge more by having a little catalogue in there that's like a quick start guide, but it's going to increase the cost of it massively. But you can't charge more. The price that they've set is based on current market conditions. It's not like that price can be changed at all. So you can't add in. So they're not going to get any extra money from doing this. So do you know what I mean? From a business point of view, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, having said that, if you look at some of my decks that I've bought out with Phil, one thing that I have done, not all of them, but a lot of them, especially if it's got kind of like a complicated marking system, or not a complicated marking system, but there's a lot marked on there. Me and Phil have included a card in the deck that has a reference point of how the marks on the deck work. So we did that with Cube 52. I'm pretty sure we did it with one other. I can't remember which one. And definitely my new thing that's coming out soon with me and Phil, which is Focus. That definitely has that quick start card in there because it's the most powerful mark deck in the world. So that's okay, because when you produce a deck of cards, you get 56 slots. Now, normally in a normal standard deck of cards, that's 2 jokers and that's 2 advertising cards. It's why somewhere like Penguin will include a double backer or 2, because they can use whatever cards they want to in the 56 cards. So when I produce a deck of cards, there's a slot there to include a kind of an instruction card. It doesn't affect the price at all. All of those factors that I talked about earlier on are no longer affected by that. So that's not a problem. But to just produce a quick start guide, it's going to massively increase costs without actually putting any discernible value that would allow an increase in profit or turnover. So that's the reason why it's not done, I think. I'm not a production company. I have no interest in being into a production company, but I do understand business. So I think that's why it's being done. And I don't think you will see anyone doing it anytime soon. But I might be wrong. Okay, so Card Trick Academy says, hi Craig, I love all your videos, especially the ones with Matt. That is amazing. When you build a show, what is your advice for when you're overwhelmed with so many ideas? And how do you end up choosing what goes in your show and what doesn't? Thanks. Well, when you're putting a show together, excuse me, when you're putting a brand new show together and you're starting from scratch, the first thing that you need to do is you need to think what the style of the show should be. What is the show? Is it a comedy show? Where are you going to be performing this? Where is this going to get marketed to? Because that will really massively impact the show. Is it going to be for a corporate audience? Is it going to be for a family audience? Is it going to be going on the holiday park circuit? Is it going to be going to a foreign audience and therefore you can't really do much talking because it has to go across all languages? Is it going to be just adults? In which case, are you going to be doing it in an environment where swearing is appropriate? Or is it just for adults, but it's not in that sort of environment? How many people do you think you're going to be performing it to? Is it going to be something where you perform regularly to hundreds of people? Or is it going to be more of a 20, 30 people thing? Because all of these different factors affect the tricks that you put into a show, right? So the first thing you have to do, and a lot of people don't think about this, when you're putting a show, it's great to say, I'm going to put together a magic show. Brilliant. Where are you doing this show? Where is this show going to go? What is all of this? Because there's no point in me putting, I mentioned it before, so I'll mention it again. There's no point in me putting red carpet into a show if it doesn't fit within the environment in which I'm performing. You know, if I'm having to perform to foreign people and it needs to be completely to music, why am I putting in a patter piece, yeah? So the first thing you need to do is you need to think about where the show is going. And the second thing you need to think about is who you are. What's your character? What's your performing style? Is it going to be a comedy show? How much comedy is it going to be? Is it going to be like full-on physical slapstick comedy? Or is it going to be more of a kind of sarcastic sort of, you know, Alan Hudson, Mark Bennett style comedy? Or is it going to be a serious thing? Are you going to be doing it to music? If you are going to be doing it to music, who are you going to be? Are you going to be Jeff McBride? What are you going to be? What you need to think of your performing style, because all of these factors, where the show is going to be, all of this impacts what the show is going to actually include. There's no point just buying a load of tricks and saying, right, okay, this is my show, because that might not be appropriate for where you're actually putting the show. So once you've worked out all of that, to stop the overwhelm, I would literally take it on a step-by-step basis. I'd say, right, I need an opener, I need a closer. That's the first thing that I'm going to do. What's my opener? Well, okay, my opener a lot of the time is Vanishing Bottle. I open with Vanishing Bottle. I love Vanishing Bottle. I open with it a lot. I've changed my opener around many, many times over the years, but I always come back to Vanishing Bottle. Why? Well, my show is a very funny show. And my character when I'm performing on stage is the sort of person that, yeah, you can obviously do magic, but it's more important for me to have a laugh with the audience. And that comes across in my Vanishing Bottle trick. It's also one moment of magic. It's very, very funny. It fits with my style, right? So I open with the Vanishing Bottle. Now, my Vanishing Bottle might not be appropriate for your show. That's why you think about who you are, you think about your show, and you start off with the opener. Find your opener, script your opener, work out how the opener is going to go. Then figure out how you're going to close the opener and how you're going to transition into the next piece. And then think about the next piece. Well, what's the next piece going to be? Well, for me, I've always wanted in my show to be the next piece to involve audience management, to involve audiences coming up to the front. So a lot of the time, I'll do something like the Suit Jacket Escape. I'll do something like Superfly. I'll have somebody come to the front and help me, and I'll get them involved. So that would be my next thing, right? I need to have something that involves some audience interaction. I need to have something that people can come on stage. I'll do that. After that, where am I going to go there? What's the next step? And so on and so forth. And that's how you build a show. Don't just try and look at the whole show as a whole, because that will overwhelm you. you put all the individual elements in first, and you think about the transition points between each element. When you've got the show, there's no reason why you can't change it around, and you go and you go, well, I put a cards across there, but there's also something similar to a cards across there. Okay, what can I replace one of those two with? Well, first of all, which of these two are the strongest? This one. Okay, so do I replace that one, or do I put that one there, and what do I do? So it's a lot of tinkering, but don't try and do the whole show all of the time. Work out who you are, work out where the show is going to go, work out all those different factors, and then after you've done that, start building up the show one trick at a time. It's going to take time. It's not going to be something you can do. It's why I hear people going, I've got, on Facebook, they go, I'm a close-up magician and I'm doing a stage show for 400 people tomorrow. What should I do? What you should do is pray and just look at the window and go, oh my God, I'm fucked. To do a really good show that's going to make you proud, it's going to take a long time to put together. So don't rush yourself with this. Yeah, that's where overwhelm comes from. Overwhelm comes from you just piling too much on yourself. Don't do that. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Koch Magic, who says, I have another hobby which is just as important to me as magic. I know there are many magicians with other hobbies, and I know there are ones like you who I believe focus on just magic. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're wrong. I have lots of hobbies, actually. There's a lot of stuff that I like to do. It's just that because I do magic TV, people see me talking about magic all the time. So, for example, Ryland, he is full on with basketball. He does basketball more than he does magic. He will practice basketball more than magic. Like, he's on the school team. He gets up at 6 o'clock every morning to go to basketball practice every morning at 7 o'clock before school starts. He goes to basketball practice after school every single day. Lunchtime, basketball every single day. If you ever see him at a gig, he takes a basketball with him, and when he's set up at the gig, he'll go back somewhere and he'll just play basketball. He absolutely loves basketball. That's why you see most of his videos is in a Lakers top. There's a ton of stuff that I really enjoy doing that I never talk about. And one of which is wrestling. I'll spend hours watching wrestling. I will literally stay up and watch Raw live and watch SmackDown live, and I love all wrestling. I have ever done ever since I was like 18 years old. It's important to have hobbies away from magic. So yeah, I love magic. Ryland loves magic, but it's not the only thing that we do. Okay, so continuing with your question. I dream of being a full-time magician. However, I need to find the balance of magic and my other hobby. Recently, I had a whole week of super motivated practice, but at the weekend, the motivation went super high with the other hobby, and at the moment, that is where my motivation lies. Okay. Do you think it's important to practice magic every day as I dream of being a magician? Or should I focus on magic when that's my motivation? Apologies for the long question. Thanks as always. Great question, Archie. Don't ever force yourself to practice. There are days where I have just not practiced at all. So days and days and days. Same with Ryland. There's days and days and days. I've been trying to read a book now for the best part of a week, and every time I pick it up, I can't be bothered. So I just put it down again. The thing is, you see a lot of people leaving magic, right? You see a lot of people leaving magic all of the time. And one of the reasons is they're really hard on themselves, right? So what I mean by that is they come into magic, they find magic all wonderful and sexy, and they just immerse themselves in it, right? And then what happens is they get to a point where they love magic, but there's other things they want to do as well. But they start feeling guilty that they're not practicing magic. And so then that almost alienates them against magic. Don't ever force yourself to practice, okay? Practice should come organically. You should practice because you want to, because you're sitting down and you go, you know what, I'm going to fiddle with a deck of cards. That's where I come in. I'll be sitting here and I'll be like, I'm going to grab a deck of cards. I'm going to fiddle with a deck of cards. I'm going to fiddle with a coin. It needs to happen organically. You don't want this to happen by you're forcing, okay, it's 6 o'clock. I've not done any magic practice yet. I'm going to have to spend an hour practicing the linking rings. If that happens, you're just going to fall out of love with magic because you're doing something that you're not really wanting to do. And the more times you do that, the more you'll just gravitate away from it. So look, don't worry about practicing magic every single day. You can be a full-time professional magician and not practice magic every single day. Other hobbies are fantastic. They really are. So please do not worry about that. Honestly, just practice it because you want to, not because you have to. Okay, so the next question is Andy Put. Hey Andy, I hope you're well. And no story this week, just questions. Okay, I love your stories, Andy, but that's fine. What do you think about that Black Friday has become Black November. I know Black Friday is an American thing, but now you see a lot of early Black Friday deals in the beginning of November, or even in waves each week. It's not only in Magic, but since this is Magic TV, we talk about the early deals on Magic. Isn't this getting a little out of hand? P.S. I will also buy the good deals of Magic that are on my list, so I'm not hating on Black Friday deals in general. Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. I get it 100%. I really do. You're right, it's not just in Magic. I see people, it's almost become Black November, hasn't it? It's like the sales have started now. They've started a couple of weeks ago, and all of the Magic shops are doing sales. Look, it's just business at the end of the day. And again, I totally understand that. Businesses need to survive. And the way that they survive is they generate sales. And if they can take any opportunity to generate sales, they will. And you'll see that a lot of Magic shops, not just Magic shops, but retail in general, will always be looking for something to try and increase cash flow, to increase sales. So at the moment, it's Black Friday. Somebody, whoever, whatever Magic company decided to start banging on about Black Friday early, and all the other Magic shops are like, well, hang on, if they're doing it, we should as well, because we don't want to be left out the loop. It's kind of like an industry thing, right? And then after Black Friday, it'll be, right, okay, get ready for Christmas, and all of the promos will be about Christmas. And then it'll be New Year's sales, and then it'll be, hey, we've got a blowout before Blackpool. There's always something. There's always, it's classic sales technique. It really is. I talk about this on the Netrix. There's 5 impulse factors that you use to impulse people to buy a product. And an acronym is GIFTS: greed, indifference, fear of loss, tone of voice, sheep factor. And G is greed. In other words, people are just naturally greedy. They really are. It's a valid sales technique. If you show somebody that they can save money, they are more likely to buy something. It's why you see so many 50% off, buy one, get one free in the supermarket. The amount of times that my wife has gone into a supermarket and come back with 2 packets of cereal. And why have you got 2 packets of cereal? Oh, because the second one was 50% off. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still paying extra for that second box of cereal that we didn't actually need. It's just businesses tacking into human nature. Now, the fact that this is the magic industry and magicians are obsessed with buying new tricks at the best of times means that it's always going to be a way that businesses can make money within the magic community. It's just the way it is. I don't mind it at all. And I always bang myself a Black Friday deal. But yeah, it's not going to go away. My attitude is I'm very namaste as fuck these days. I've got to be honest with you, Andy. So my attitude is if it's not going to go away, it's not doing me any harm, I'll just live with it. I'm not bothered. Okay, so the next question again is from Andy Putt, who says, is the Austin Murphy bathtub event going to be an interview on Magic TV? And if so, when it will be? I would love to interview Austin Murphy, and if we were both in a bath at the same time, that would make my day. I have had an email from Austin. I have had first contact. I would love to interview him. I don't think he's really done any interviews outside of Murphy's. I would like to be that person that interviews him. I really would. I'm calling it here now, Austin Murphy. If anybody's watching this from Murphy's Magic, go tell your boss I want to interview him. If he's in a bathtub, that would be great. If not, I can live with that. Don't worry. It can be a fully clothed Austin Murphy, and I still want to interview him. Okay, so we've got another question from Andy Putt, who says, the year is almost coming to an end. Yes, it is, Andy. But is it fair to say that talking about releases, beside you this year, it's Tobias Dostal, Liquify, Repro, and the other half of Liquify that's coming soon, I think. All of his tricks went to be the talk of the town, and people talked about the trick of 2024 with anything he bought out. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in the running, man. He's definitely in the running. His stuff is amazing. I said on the repo review, and I mean it, the problem, it's not a problem, but the thing you need to consider with Tobias's stuff is it is fiddly. It's not the sort of thing that you can do straight away. It's the sort of thing that you can watch the tutorial and go, okay, I get that, right, no problem. But it's not the sort of thing that you can do straight away. It requires a lot of practice, and it just shows how skilled Tobias is, which is kind of interesting because a lot of really big popular tricks that come out these days are very, very easy for people to do. So it's kind of like instant gratification. Whilst this is kind of more of a cerebral thing, not cerebral thing, this is kind of more of a practice thing. So, I mean, therein lies the problem. But I do think that Liquify and Repo, I've not seen the other thing, but definitely Liquify and Repo are definitely two tricks that could be in the running for Trick of the Year. There are other tricks that are in the running for Trick of the Year as well, as far as I'm concerned, but Liquify and Repo are right up there, and I think Tobias is an absolute genius. Okay, one final question from Andy Putt, who says, which magician that you've never really worked with would you like to collaborate on a card trick or a project release? Good question. Mario Lopez, Tobias Dostal. I would love to collaborate with either one of those guys. They are very, very, very clever people. They really are. Mario Lopez and Mario Lopez and Tobias Dostal. I would love to collaborate on a project with them. I really would. I think they're amazing. So yeah, if you boys are out there, get in touch. Okay, so the next question is from Reese Whitehead, who says, hi Craig, have you ever had a trick that you really wanted to bring out, but it's not being possible due to cost, gimmick, or technology not being available yet? Yeah, many, many times, man. I mean, look, you see a lot of tricks coming out from me, so, you know, people assume, oh, every single trick that Craig brings out is going to be marketed. That's not the case. I would say 1 out of 10 ends up hitting the market. The majority of them don't, for a variety of different reasons. Now, the biggest reason is because I just don't think it cuts the mustard. You know, I've had an idea for a trick. It's a really good idea. I've gone out and worked it, and I look at it and I go, you know what, this is good, but I don't think it's good enough. I think it has to be at a particular standard, and it's not good enough to be a physical product. Maybe something that I can talk about in a lecture, but not a physical product. I have had other tricks that have come out that the technology has caused an issue with, absolutely. A few years ago, I was developing an app with Murphy's Magic, but we couldn't make it do what we wanted it to do, so that's kind of been shelved, unfortunately, because it was a very, very cool app, and it did something that no other apps have done, but just couldn't make it happen. Cost, have I had anything that I haven't brought out because of cost? Yes, actually, a couple of things. The first thing that I've got coming out with TCC, I've had as a concept for years, and I've just never been able to bring it out because nobody could do what I needed to do in order to make this trick come out. And I'd pretty much given up, and then I spoke to TCC and they were like, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, really? You can? Yeah, we can do that. So the thing that comes out with TCC, the first thing that comes out with TCC is something I've been wanting to do for years, and it's took me until now pretty much given up on it. But luckily TCC were able to do it. So yeah, things get shelved for a variety of different reasons, and sometimes like I put something together that would have cost so much to produce that it ended up not coming out. I had that with something else as well that's been in production for years, and luckily I was able to get Drew Perry to bring the cost of it down and to design it in a completely different way, which made it viable for Penguin to be able to actually do that. So sometimes I revisit stuff from years before, but yeah, I'd say 9 out of 10 things that I'm working on don't ever see the light of day. Okay, so the next trick is, or the next question is by... Who's it by? It's by Illusionist Ed Zeus. How you doing? Hope you're well, buddy. Who says, can I ask you to give me some tips on my set list? I feel very confident about the show in my country, but I'm lately wanting to do more shows abroad, and I wanted to get some feedback. Right, let's have a look at this. I start with some simile warm-up with the fingers, okay? Then I do Blake Voigt's envelope opener. Well, that is a killer opener. You're onto a winner right there. Then some mind-reading stuff. I do a baby gag with a famous person. I don't like to force a card, that's why I do a psychological force with multiple cuts. Followed by Wes Baker's shirt trick gag. It's a mind-reading trick, but at the end I turn around and everything is written on my back. Then I do 20th Century Silks, but with men's underwear. The little touch that I've added is that after I take his pants off, there is his name written on them, so it's quite strong. Now I put my jacket on and I do the suit jacket escape. I've only been doing this for a few months because you recommended it. It's so good. It packs super small, but it's huge. If it's a birthday, I then make a Cuban bottle for the lady, or Henry's appearing Corona beer for men. And I always end up with Tic-Tac-Toe X with the company logo, the birthday celebrants, or anything else they want. The whole show runs 45 minutes. So first of all, that's a killer show. I think I would sit down and really freaking enjoy that show. That's amazing, man. That's great. I think Tic-Tac-Toe X is a brilliant finale, and I've used it for years. I've got a very good friend who's a gold member in the Netrix, Rees. He goes by the Colorblind Magician, and he closes all of his shows with Tic-Tac-Toe X. I think Tic-Tac-Toe is brilliant. Envelope opener is exceptional. I personally wouldn't do the baby gag directly after envelope opener. That's just me, because kind of with envelope opener, it's kind of like making a prediction and then you're going into another prediction. It's making a prediction with a bit of a gag to it. You know, envelope opener is a bit about making a gag, and then the prediction works. And then you've got a baby gag, which is making a prediction, it's a gag, and then the prediction works. So the two very similar things. I wouldn't necessarily go from one to the other. I would move the baby gag until a little bit later on, personally. It's kind of, and also, you do the envelope opener, which is a card trick. You then do baby gag, which is not a card trick, and then you say you do a psychological force with multiple outs. Wouldn't it be better to actually move the baby gag and do the psychological force straight after the envelope opener? So you've done the envelope opener, which is the prediction of a playing card, and that allows you to say, well, obviously, let's see if we can take this one step further, you know, and you're going from one card trick into another thing, but you're making it more impressive, apparently, because you say, well, let's see if we can take this one step further. We've got this deck of cards. I need someone to come up and help me, and I don't know what the routine is, but you're saying you're doing multiple outs. I don't know what it is. It might not even involve a deck of cards, I don't know, but I would say having two card-related items next to each other would be better than kind of a card thing, moving over to completely something random like a baby gag, and then moving back to playing cards. You could start with the envelope opener, do the psychological force, and then say, you know what, let's get away from playing cards for a bit. Let's try something else. Let's talk about celebrities. And then you do the baby gag. Maybe, just my opinion. I don't know the Wes Barker shirt gag. It sounds brilliant. I don't like 20th century pants. It's not the sort of thing that I do. It doesn't fit with my style. I could imagine that with the right presentation, it could be funny. And the writing on the back of it, very, very good. I love that. Would have no idea how you're doing that unless it's pre-show. Okay. I mean, I don't know your style from reading this set list. You've gone from some pretty hardcore mind reading through to pulling pants out of someone's trousers. So it's kind of a leap presentationally, but I don't know your character, so it might fit within your show. And it definitely fits within the suit jacket escape, because both of those routines are kind of silly, but at the same time impressive. Yeah, and then I would consider making the Corona beer and the Cuban bottle as the finale, almost like an encore piece, because you're saying you do the Corona beer for men, you do the Cuban bottle for women, and then you always end with tic-tac-toe with the company logo or whatever. I would end the show with tic-tac-toe and take your applause and then say, oh, there's one last thing. I wanted to give you a gift. And I just have some music playing in the background, something like Moments Apart by Mandessa, something like that. And you kind of have this as a really big moment, almost like a callback or almost like an encore piece. So you finish the show and it's like, oh, one more thing, music plays. You know, I want to thank you for inviting me here today. Have you all had a good time? And I wanted to give you a gift, something that you could keep and you could remember forever. And I'd go into that routine and make a really big deal of that cube going into that bottle that you then give out to the VIP or whoever it is. Personally, I would probably end that way. But it's a great show. It's a great show. Take my comments for what it's worth. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. Well done. Okay, so the next question is from Magic and Cards, who says, hi Craig, hope all's well with you and the family. Thanks for Magic TV and all that you do for the Magic community and your kind encouragement when we met at Magic Live. You're more than welcome. I would love to know your feedback on the Bicycle Invoke deck, what you like about it, more important, what you hate about it. Thank you. Oh, you're bicycling vote guy. Yes. You know what? We'll do a video on it. We'll do a video soon. I will do a video on it, and we'll do a review. We'll do a deck review. I don't do deck reviews very often, but I very much liked your stuff. So we'll do a deck review. Now is not the time. I don't even have the deck here with me, but we'll do a deck review at some point soon. Okay, so the next question is from Happy Pancakes, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks again for your answers and all the other fantastic content on Magic TV. You're more than welcome. Where can I get a good quality handkerchief for classic effects? I got some a while back, but they were way too small and sort of see-through." Excuse me. Yeah, okay. No, there's other stuff, but we can get to that in a minute. So, good quality handkerchiefs. It depends on what you want to use the handkerchiefs for. Magician's handkerchiefs, you say they were too small and sort of see-through. Magician's handkerchiefs traditionally were manufactured by Magic for Gosh, or Goshman. But lots of other people do those handkerchiefs now as well, including, I think, TCC. The traditional magician's handkerchiefs are kind of see-through because you want to bunch them up really, really small. So if you've ever seen Ryland's Harry Potter act, there's a moment where he changes the colour of a candle and then produces a red silk. Well, that's because that red silk has been, put into basically a tiny ball, and then he produces it, right? So a lot of magician silks, they're designed to compact into a very small space. Might be a dove pan, might be a thumb tip, it might be a change bag, whatever. So a lot of magician silks are see-through and small, but you can get bigger sizes. So I think they start with a 6-inch, then a 9-inch, then an 18-inch, 12-inch, 15-inch, 18-inch, and I think 24-inch. And the 24-inch is pretty big. The 18-inch is what most people use on stage. Ryland's, if you've ever seen Ryland's Harry Potter act, again, perfect example, and he turns the white handkerchief into a cane, that's an 18-inch silk. So you get the silk that you need. Like if you're going to be using a thumb tip, you're probably going to go for a 9-inch. Whilst if you're doing something on stage or you're producing silks on stage, you're probably wanting to go for a bigger silk, right? So it's down to what you individually need it for. I will say that there's also diamond cut silks. So if you're wanting a bigger silk on stage, but you've got less space to compact it into, if you're wanting to use an 18-inch silk, for example, but it doesn't compress down into the load chamber that you need to use for the 18-inch silk, then you can get a diamond cut silk, which looks, when you're holding it, the same as a normal silk, but it's actually massively less material, but it's been cut in such a way that it looks like you're holding a full silk. That's another thing that you can do. If you're wanting silks that aren't see-through, you want to go other places. Now, in the UK, we had a shop called Tyrac. It closed down years ago, but I used to buy all of my silks from there. They had these beautiful silks that I used for coin manipulation. And when I realised they closed down and they were doing a closing down sale, I went in and I bought probably 100 silks, and those are the ones that I use. So I've never needed to go find other silks because I just bought them in bulk when this company was shutting down, because I knew they were the perfect silks. So yeah, I mean, you just look for gentlemen's silk handkerchiefs. They're probably the best thing. If you look on Amazon for gentlemen's silk handkerchiefs, you'll find those. Those are great for, coin manipulation and card through handkerchief and stuff like that. That's what that's useful for. But the magic handkerchiefs that you buy, a lot of the time, they are going to be see-through because they're designed for production. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so the next question is from Sean Quinto, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you and your family are doing great." Yes, very well, thank you. Here's my question. I want to get recognized as a magician. Should I do social media or should I do something else? Do you have any suggestions? Thanks for your videos and your contribution to the magic community. More power to you. Thank you very much, Sean. You want to get recognized as a magician. Do you want to get recognized as a magician within the magic community, or do you want to get recognized as a magician outside the magic community? I had this question. I met a magician, really great card magician, at the trade show I was working at, and he wasn't working there, but he was walking around, and he said to me, "Hey, how do I become more well known? How do I become more known?" And he was like, "I'm creating magic, and I want more gigs." And I said, "Well, first of all, that's basically two separate jobs. That's two separate businesses. You as a magic creator and you as a magician are two separate things, and a lot of the time should be handled differently. So when you say you want to get recognized as a magician, is that within the magic community or is that to the general public at large? That's your first question that you need to ask yourself. Let's just assume for a minute that it's outside the magic community. Well, what you need to do then, if you want to be recognized as a magician, is just be everywhere. You want to be absolutely everywhere, because if you want to be recognized as a magician and you want more gigs, well, what needs to happen is you need to generate more leads. The way that you generate more leads is by people looking at you and going, I want to find out how much that guy costs. How do you do that? Well, first of all, they need to find you in the first place. That's why you need to have social media. That's why you need to have a website. That's why the website needs to look good. That's why you need to have photos on the website. That's why you need to have videos on the website. And if you haven't got them, you go out and get them. You do whatever you can to get those assets. I've talked about this before. It's called ACE, Assets, Cash, Experience. Every gig that you go to, every opportunity you have to perform, you need to get one of three things out of it. Either cash, assets, so in other words, videos, photos, testimonials from big clients, stuff like that, or you need to get experience. That's the E, experience. And the more experience and the more assets you get, the more likely you are to get the cash, because what's going to happen, these assets are going to allow you to put more stuff online, put more stuff on social media, get a better website, spend more money on SEO, get it optimized, so on and so forth. But then once you've got your website and you're starting to have people look at your website, that's when you need to focus even more on social media, because then people are going to be comparing you to other magicians. I need a magician for my wedding. Oh, I found this guy, but I've also found this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Let's look at their social media and see which one's the best one to go for. I would argue that Instagram is as important these days as a website. I really would. I would say that Instagram is as important as a website. How many people go on Instagram to check out something that they're looking for? It happens all of the time. The key thing about Instagram is you need to have a strategy. That's what you need. A lot of people just post willy-nilly. Ask yourself a question. When you post on Instagram, do you post because you feel guilty because you haven't posted for a couple of days, so you know you've got to post something? Do you just go, oh, I'm just going to put something up quickly? Or is it part of a long-term strategy? And if it's not part of a long-term strategy, you're doing it wrong. Look at Instagram, figure out what your long-term strategy is. What are you wanting Instagram to do? And then build a content schedule around that. There's a lot more to talk about with this subject. But ultimately, how do you become recognized as a magician? Be everywhere. It's not easy, but if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Okay, so the next question is from Bryzelfia, who says, hi Craig, hope you and everyone at Magic TV is doing well. A few questions for you. I know this is a busy time of the year for you, but I do wonder if the Magic podcast is dead or merely hibernating. Perhaps you will hear it return once things have settled down outside the holiday season. It's definitely not dead. Lloyd's got a lot of stuff going on. If you follow Lloyd, you know he's basically moved into a new house that he's trying to fix up from the ground up. I can hardly get Lloyd on the phone right now, let alone I can't get him on the phone long enough to actually film a podcast episode. Neither can Jake Keane. But he is very much wanting to do the podcast again. It's just he's got other priorities. So it's not dead. He will be coming back and it will continue again. I would probably say in 2025 at this point. Yeah, so you got another question, but we'll leave that on to the next bit. Okay, so the next question again is from Bryzelfia, who says, second question, and I know you don't normally perform with sleeves, but is there a chance I could convince you to maybe do some sort of deep dive on the Raven, either here or on the Netrix? Shout out to the silver level. The virtual magic clubs are worth the price of submission alone. Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. I've been experimenting with the Raven and the possibilities are truly endless. I'd love to see what your approach to it would be. Great question. Yeah, I used to use the Raven quite a lot when I was younger. Don't use it as much these days, but it is a very powerful tool. And you're right, I don't use it because I don't really use sleeves. But I'd be more than happy to put like a deep dive together on it. It might be worthwhile me doing an interview with Nick Capo from Penguin, because Nick is the leading expert when it comes to the Raven. And getting his thoughts on it, I think, would be massively beneficial for everybody. Maybe I could do it as a bit of an interview with me and Nick and get Nick to show you some stuff on camera. I think that would probably be a really good idea. Leave it with me. I'm going to shout out to Nick later on today. Okay, so the third question from Bryzelfia is there a trick or a routine or a show that for you recaptures and reignites that feeling of when you first got into magic? Yeah, anytime I see somebody do illusions, anytime I see a big illusion show with high budget, Young and Strange, the stuff that happens in Vegas, you know, the gala shows at the Blackpool Magic Convention, stuff like that. That's what really recaptures my love of magic. I remember first going to a magic convention and seeing all these wonderful, big, large-scale Grand Illusion shows and thinking, oh my God, I'd love to do that. And I love seeing stage magic. I love watching manipulators. I love watching comedy magicians. Anytime I feel down in the dumps about magic, which is rarely, but it can happen, I try to go out my way to watch a magic show. And that normally picks me up. Okay, so the next question is from Hungoven Amsterfort. Hello, who says, your opinion about exposure is spot on. I bought Nightshade right after the exposure video, and it's the best coin-related product I ever bought, period. I will add this, if you don't expose, you've got something to hide, probably quality-related. Honestly, I completely agree with you in this day and age. It's so easy to be completely honest with your audience and say, well, okay, this is what it is and this is what it does. Yeah, I don't understand why people wouldn't be completely honest about it. Actually, I do understand it, but I disagree with it. Like, you're going to be constant. Every trick I bring out, there's going to be an exposure video because I'm proud of the effect. Anybody who buys my stuff, you know I'm not trying to bring out a pipe dream. I'm trying to bring out something that will work in the real world. And that is what I want to show on those videos. And I completely agree with you, so thank you for your comment. Okay, so the next question is from the amazing Spaghetti. Hey, buddy, who says, hi, Craig, thanks for the ideas of the ping pong force. I appreciate it. Funny you brought up Silent Assistant. I created the exact same thing several years before that came out and thought about marketing but never got around to it. Dude, I've been there. It's a nightmare, isn't it? You snooze, you lose. You are right there. After I posted the question for you, I ended up accidentally finding a large 3-way force bag from TCC and just got it today and tried it at home quickly, and it should work well. Oh, that's good. TCC are great. I didn't count, but I put at least 100 balls in it. The dry erase sticker probably wouldn't lay flat on the ball, but maybe I could spray each ball with something that would essentially turn each one to a dry erase surface. Maybe an artist project called Gloss Spray Clear would work, or a clear gloss acrylic coating, or a clear fingernail polish. Yeah, anything like that would probably work 100%. Look, I just try and answer people's questions. It sounds like you've got a solution, which is absolutely perfect. I can't wait. Try and post me a video of a link to a video when you've got it up, because I'd love to see it. It sounds really interesting. Okay, there's a few quick fire Jonah Berg questions. So I'm going to try and get through these very, very quickly because he's got a lot of them. So here we go. First question from Jonah Berg. Favorite card magician of all time? Darwin Ortiz, hands down. If I had to have a second place, it would be Michael Close. Next question from Jonah Berg. Do you use an impression device? No, I don't. Never have, never will. Not particularly keen on impression devices. I think that there's better ways of accomplishing what they do. For a time when I was working with Russell, he would use it as he would use one in pre-show in order to do the Bill Malone style baby gag routine, where you end up predicting the celebrity the person's thinking of on the other side, which was all well and good, and that was fine. But that was his decision, and when he left the act, I stopped doing it immediately. And it was his impression device. So I've never really used one, don't like them, probably never going to use them. Next question from Jonah Berg. Are you going to review the Greek Peak wallet? Yes, I have it. I've looked at it, and it will be on the next review show that I film with Ryan. Next question from Jonah Berg. Are you still using Scotch and Whiskey by Tom Elderfield? Yes, I am. It's in my gig bag. I'm using it all the time. I've got a routine with it. I'm very, very happy with it, which is very unique to anything anyone else is doing, and I love it. It's definitely on my top 10 tricks of 2024. It's brilliant. Final question from Jonah Berg. What do you think about Mind, Myth and Magic by T.A. Walters? It's a fantastic book that very few people read these days because less people read than ever before. But if they did, it's required reading as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so the next question is from RDGTEX, who says, hi, Craig. Hey, buddy, hope you're well. I appreciate your clarifications and wanted to follow up on your disclosure videos. I understand your rationale and may not have expressed myself clearly when discussing your decisions to disclose secrets for Destiny Deal, Magic Button and Superimposed. You know what's best for your audience, and I respect that. I understand you felt the need to disclose Destiny Deal to counter misinformation on the Magic Cafe. Personally, I feel disenfranchised by most of what's said there, and what I do glean is taken with a grain of salt. I'm totally with you there, 100%, my friend. Destiny Deal is reasonably priced, and while I've been practicing complex ACANs, it makes ACANs fun. That's enough for me. I'm sold. I'll continue using my mem deck work in other ways, and thank you for recommending the Buena Vista Shuffle Club, which I even bought for my daughter. That's awesome that your daughter does mem deck work. That's brilliant. My main point wasn't about why you disclose secrets, but how the magic industry might evolve. Magic is sold with the secret included, whether practical or destined for bottom drawer. Your approach to pre-sale disclosures helps magicians make informed choices, and I believe the industry could benefit from this, especially for costly props. I agree 100%. Currently, there's no paywall reveal model. The secret is part of the purchase. Introducing pre-purchase disclosure paywalls could be transformative. For instance, while I still have bought on edge, knowing more, many magicians without the means or experience to maintain or customize the set, to customize it, have set it aside. High quality magic shouldn't be relegated to bottom drawers, nor should costly props that won't be used for little pockets, to just line pockets. I agree, and herein lies the problem. Magic producers are all about making money. Again, it's a business. I totally understand why. On Edge is a perfect example. On Edge, people bought because it looks beautiful and it is an amazing trick and I love it. But when people bought it, they realised it's not practical for a lot of the situations that they would necessarily perform in. That's why it ended up on the bottom drawer or being sold on to other people. From a producer's point of view, they want as many people to buy it as possible. If they're revealing the secret, less people are going to buy it, therefore it's a less successful product. Having said that, interestingly, Bon Lee, and he's not openly talked about this, but I went onto his website the other day, MS Magic, and I noticed that all of his releases, you can buy the tutorial only as a download for a couple of dollars. So you've got the main trick on there, and then you can buy the tutorial for a couple of dollars. So you can buy the tutorial, watch the tutorial, see if it's the sort of thing that you want to do, and if it is, then you can buy the trick, which is kind of what you're talking about. A fair pre-purchase model should compensate all parties and include a one-time coupon code from the retailer for a discounted purchase of props and tutorials. I apologise for being so long-winded, but I can't find a way to say this in fewer words. I hope you consider using your influence to influence this idea to the industry. Thanks for all the time and effort and all that you do for the magic community. You're more than welcome, and I do think that more people are going to be doing this moving forward. The Bon Lee thing, have a look at his website. It's a very interesting approach that he's taken. And, if Bon Lee's doing it, a lot of other people will as well. I'm going to maybe do a video on this in the future where I'm talking to heads of various different magic shops and production companies and see if we can get their thoughts on it as well. Okay, so the next question is from Elkie, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks for answering my questions. A couple of months ago, you answered my question regarding motivation, encouraged me to continue at a time when depression was making me question everything. Since then, I've signed up for numerous performances, become an insider on really exciting projects, and continued making magic. Thanks for helping me turn things around." You are more than welcome, my friend. And again, that is why Magic TV exists. If there's one person that says that sort of thing to me, then I've kind of succeeded. So honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Anyway, on to the questions. Right. What, in your opinion, is the most revolutionary thinking on magic that you've seen? Has there been any theory or advice from someone that completely changed your perspective on the art? That is a question, isn't it? That's a great question. No, not really. Not revolutionary. Has there been any piece of theory or advice from someone that completely changed your perspective on the art? No, I will say the thing that really changed things for me is when I started working on stage and I started doing the holiday park circuit. I blagged my way into the holiday park circuit through doing a showcase. And I got a contract to do the holiday park circuit without having much experience doing stage magic. And I remember, what was his name? Paul Flinders. Paul Flinders from Treco Bay. He was the Ents manager at Treco Bay, but also a magician in his own right. And we went and did our first show at Treco Bay, and it was okay, but it felt flat. And Paul then spent so much time, every time we went to that venue, outside of that venue, calling me. So he spent so much time really helping me learn how to actually perform on stage. And it's not about the trick, it's about connecting with the audience and how to basically do a holiday park show. When you can do a holiday park show, you can do anything. So the thing that stands out when you ask that question is Paul Flinders from Treco Bay. He really helped me. He took somebody who was inherently just a close-up magician wanting to be a stage magician, and he gave freely his time and advice and really helped take me to where I feel like I'm a very competent stage magician, and for that, I'm forever in his debt. Okay, we've got one more question from Elkie, who says, do you have any recommendations for tricks that relate to the concept of memory and forgetting? It's something I want to explore more, but other than Jay Sankey's out to lunch idea, I can't think of any examples. I'm doing a video on this very, very soon, so I'm not going to say now because there is a video coming soon, but yes, I completely agree with you. There's not a lot of stuff out there, but I've been doing some research and I've found a lot of stuff. So I am going to do a video on this soon, so I'm not going to answer that now. The two that I think that you should explore is the Jay Sankey thing, which obviously you're already aware of, and 100th Monkey by Chris Philpott is another example of, taking people's ability away to read. But outside of that, watch for the video. It should be coming before the end of the year. Okay, so the next question is from TR Magic, who says, hi Craig, hope you're well. Yes, very well, thank you, my friend. Quick question regarding audience management. In routines where a deck switch is used, how would you handle a situation where a spectator asks if they can see your pockets? Thanks for all you do. I've never had that. If you're having that, honestly, you're doing the deck switch wrong. If you're doing a deck switch and people are then saying, hang on, can I see your pockets? It means that it's lacked the motivation to make the deck switch natural. If you're doing a pocket switch, which I assume you are, because they wouldn't be asking to see your pockets if you're doing like the cooler, for example. So if you're doing a deck switch out of your pockets and people are saying, let me see your pockets, they've either seen the deck switch happen or they have suspected that something has happened within that pocket, which means that you have to motivate your action to the pocket more naturally. So when you go into the pocket to do a deck switch, the perfect example is have a reason to go into the pocket. So let's say you've had someone pick a card and you want to sign the card. You go, can you take the card and show it to everybody? I need you to sign the card. Have you got a pen? No? Okay, don't worry, I'll get one for you. Now you have a reason for your hands to go in the pockets because you've told them why you're going into the pockets. You're not just putting your hands in your pockets arbitrarily for no reason. You've told them why you're doing it. I need to get a pen. Okay, but you're not saying, I'm going in my pocket to get a pen. You're saying, oh, can you sign it? Have you got a pen? No, don't worry, I'll get one. Both hands go into the pockets, and then what happens is, let's say you're doing the deck switch in your right pocket, the pen would be in your left pocket. You then bring your hand out that's got the item that you've gone into the pocket to get first. So all the attention is on that. So you come out with the pen. It looks like you're searching for this pen. Your hand comes out with the pen. You go to hand it to the spectator. And as you do, you just put the deck down. You put it to one side without looking at it. It's happening outside of your vision. It's happening outside of the frame of action. Okay, so that goes down there as everyone's focus is on the pen being given to the spectator. Now, there's no suspicion on the pockets because 1, you told them why your hands were going in the pockets. 2, you've come out with the reason why your hands were in the pockets. And 3, the attention has been switched somewhere else when the deck switch actually is finally completed. If at any point you do something like that and someone says, hey, let me see your pockets, you're doing it wrong. So think about, what would I say if somebody said, look in my pockets? I'd probably just say, well, I've obviously screwed up then because you're not meant to be asking that question. So don't worry about what you would say in that scenario. Fix what's causing that statement to be made. Okay, so a ton of people have commented on Ryland's linking ring routines that I posted on the Q&A last week. Thank you so much. He loves linking rings. A lot of people think of him as a cube magician, but he does linking rings more than he does cubes. So there's several questions about linking rings or several statements about Ryland's linking rings. For everybody who, I'm going to bundle them all up together into here and say, for everybody who has said anything, thank you so much. And for people that said that Ryland's inspired you to learn a linking ring routine, again, thank you very much. That will make his day. Okay, so the next question is from Yuri, who says, hi Craig, hope you're well. Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you, buddy. I have 2 questions that I wanted to ask you. So first things first, I recently received the cheeky deck that I bought from Alakazam, and I'm absolutely loving the trick. It's my very first cheek-to-cheek deck I own, and I'm blown away at how good it is. Thank you. I love the cheek-to-cheek deck. In the tutorial, you had a routine that used a friction pen, and it honestly looked like real-life magic. In that tutorial, you mentioned you have hundreds of routines with a pen like that, and I was wondering if you're ever planning on doing more of that on Magic TV or the Netrix, if you don't have videos of it already. I think this item has so much potential and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Yes, I am planning on doing a big upload onto the Netrix on friction pen related tricks. I'm going to have a section on the Netrix for friction pen routines. So that's going to be hopefully added before the end of the year. So look out for that. But yes, we are definitely doing friction pen related tricks on the Netrix, and I'll probably do a Hows and Whys on Magic TV as well. Okay, so the next question is again by Yuri, who says, what is your opinion on business cards? I know you have business cards printed on one side only, but do you recommend that for all business cards, or do you also have a small stack of business cards that are printed on both sides? I'm curious to know. Anyway, thanks for all the things you do. This channel has helped me in dozens of ways to become a better magician. I can't thank you enough for that. Honestly, Yuri, that means the world to me. In terms of business cards, I've played around with so many designs over the years, but these days I just have them printed on one side. That's all I do. I don't give business cards out very often. There's a video on the Netrix on the silver level that talks about how business cards are dead and how you don't need business cards as a marketing activity. I do, however, like carrying them around to do magic tricks with. And because of that, I like having one side completely blank so I can use it almost like a billet. I know that other people will use it. I've played around with designs in the past where I had a little square box in the middle, so the perfect place to do a center tear, sorry. I've played around with so many different designs, but these days I just use one-sided business card. Now, Steve Della is on the Netrix, obviously, is one of the instructors, and because you're on the silver level, you'll have access to his course on business cards. Steve Della did a sit-down interview with me and talked all about business cards, design, everything. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's on the Netrix, and Steve knocked it out the park with that one, and that might answer a lot more of your questions. Okay, so the next question again is from Divishan, who says, please give your thoughts on this BGT idea that I'm going to do in the open auditions next week. I have cards and I say, Simon, I'm going to read your mind. You're thinking, not another card trick. Can't you do something different? And I say yes, because I've realized that magic isn't about cards or coins. I have cards and I say, it's about connections. And as I say this, I change a card to say connections. So tonight I'm going to create a powerful connection with the judges that it can be almost like a magical connection. Everyone knows we're connected through phones, but did you know phones can also be magical connected? Then I do R digit. After R digit, I say, but that was the phones. Let's create the connection ourselves, and then do Wayne Dobson's coloured ball routine with the presentation of me being able to connect with the audience, which is what magic should all be about. Please give thoughts and suggestions on this. I appreciate they've probably seen R digit and the Wayne Dobson routine before, but not tied together. The big problem you've got here is they want the audition piece to be less than 3 minutes. They really do. And that sounds like an incredibly long routine. R digit will take 3 minutes on its own. Then you've got the Wayne Dobson routine. Then you've got the preamble at the beginning. I think it's way too long, to be honest. I would focus, if you like the connections idea, I would focus on taking one of those and just using one of those. I don't know which one you'd want to use. It's completely up to you. But also, I wouldn't bother, I've said this to you before, I wouldn't bother going on BGT right now. What I would worry about, what I would focus on is building up an incredible act. So you don't have to question what you're going to do a week before doing it. You kind of know. I would put together a solid 3-minute act and I would work it in every single gig that you do over the course of a year. So it is tight as hell. And that is what I would go in with. If you're having to ask the question the week before performing on BGT, what do you think of this idea? My answer is don't do it, because you're not prepared enough for it. And if you have to question whether you think it's a good idea or not to do, then again, I would be concerned about that. If I were you, I'd take a step back. Don't run before you can walk. Put together a really tight 3-minute routine that's tightly scripted and really impactful and unique, and then I'd go and do it next year. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Devereux, who says, hey Craig, always love your channel. Do you like the vanishing cane or the appearing cane? Mine always breaks after a while. Love the effect, but tired of buying new ones. I always go for the metal cane. So does Ryland. Ryland use appearing canes more than me, but I do use them in my kid show. My favourite appearing cane is the Ultra Cane by Bon Lee. I've never had a problem with it, and neither has Ryland. My favourite vanishing cane is the one by Taiwan Ben. He does a great vanishing cane. It's really good. Again, it's the one that's used by both me and Ryland. So the Taiwan Ben vanishing cane and the Ultra Cane I've never had a problem with. They're both metal canes. They're beautiful. They work flawlessly. Those are the two canes that I would recommend. Then they won't break. I always say to people, don't use the plastic canes. Use the metal canes. They're more dangerous. You need to practice them more. But they look so much better and they last so much longer. Okay, Magic Elliot says, as a guitar player and a magician, can you see where this is going? I'm very excited about super picks. Can you give us any details of what about the gimmick picks are in the set? I'm going to do a full video on this very, very soon, mate. So look out for that video. I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too long and I'll probably end up spending half an hour talking. So it'll take too long. What I will tell you is Super Picks is amazing. It's one of my favourite things that I've done with Penguin Magic. I'm very proud of it. Josh Birch is an absolute genius. And if you're a guitar player, there's so much you can use them for. So I'm not going to say anything else for now because I am doing a full video on it. But yeah, it's really great. You're going to be able to get them from Penguin. I imagine Monster Magic will have them as well as a bunch of other places as well. But it's really good. Okay, so there we go. That was another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me here on Magic TV. I really appreciate it. I say this every Sunday, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If it wasn't for you guys watching this channel, there would not be a channel to exist. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Two things. One, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And two, if you haven't joined the Netrix, please do so. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. It's my magnus opus to the magic community. I love the Netrix. And honestly, I can't imagine a single magician not getting something out of it. There are thousands of tricks. You want to join the Netrix, you just go to thenetrix.com. It's my online streaming platform. It's available to go and check out immediately at bronze and silver level. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.